Welcome to our 2024 season of Cloud Industry Forum presents TWF. We're speaking to you from our mixed reality newsroom style sets, all produced by our friends here at Disruptive Live. This is our weekly podcast video show, where we interview a guest from one of our members or from someone with something to say about cloud technology or AI or transformation, or what's coming next. I'm David Terrar. I'm the CEO of the Cloud Industry Forum, which is a not-for-profit trade body that champions and helps accelerate the adoption of cloud technology and services. If you want to find out more about what we do, go to cloudindustryforum.org. I'm at DT on X, David_Terrar on Threads and Instagram, and easy to find on LinkedIn. Today's guest on TWF is the AI lead for one of our members, Lenovo, and she hosts her own AI show here at Disruptive Live too. We'll get a little bit into her tech history, and she's been involved with high-performance computing for a long time. She's a solution architect. I'm delighted that we caught up with her earlier this week. She's Emily Barrett. Emily, welcome to the show. Please, can you introduce yourself, your company, and what you do?
Thanks very much for having me, David. I really appreciate it. So I'm Emily Barrett. I work for a not small, technology company called Lenovo, who you may have heard of. Most people think of us as a laptop company, and we do some really great laptops. But what we actually do is much bigger than that. So we do everything from pocket devices, so that's your mobile phones, through tablets, through laptops, through workstations, up to servers, out to cloud. So we truly have a from pocket to cloud portfolio, which actually gives us a really unique position in the tech space at the moment, because there aren't other companies who can truly monopolize on all of that technology. And that actually is part of what leads into why I do the job I do. So my role here at Lenovo is to look after our AI business in the UK for our infrastructure solutions group. But why I particularly am excited to be at Lenovo when I'm talking about AI is because of that pocket to cloud piece that we have to our portfolio. We have these mobile devices that can stick in your pocket, that are your data collection points, that we all use on a day-to-day basis to do nearly everything with. And that goes all the way through to being able to process that data, gather it, process it, stream it off to a data center for training on, or whatever it is you need to do with it, alongside storing that data in both the short and the long term as well. So from my perspective, Lenovo is a really exciting place to be at the moment.
Excellent. I love all that ThinkPad heritage and everything. It's really cool. Now, before we get into all things AI, give us a bit of a kind of a history. What sort of has got you from where you started in tech to here?
Yeah, so I started out in tech based off the degree I did at university. So I'm a theoretical physicist by training. That makes me a Sheldon. For those who watch Big Bang Theory, that is always the first question I get is, so which one are you? I'm a Sheldon. I like to think I make more eye contact and I'm slightly less socially awkward, but only marginally. So I learned a programming language at university called Fortran, and Fortran's only used still in a couple of places today, really. And one of those places is within the high performance computing community, because it is quite a low level programming language, and it does allow you to eke out those last bits of performance from a computer system that you wouldn't necessarily need to in most scenarios. But if your business is making things go as fast as you possibly can, then Fortran's a really good tool for that. So I got into high performance computing after leaving university, spent a little bit of time benchmarking. So basically trying to get things to go as fast as you possibly can before moving into solution architecture. So started putting together high performance compute systems, and then spent a little bit of time leading the Lenovo UK high performance compute team. And before moving to my current role, where I look after all things AI in the UK for our infrastructure solutions group.
Believe it or
So
not,
that's kind of a very quick history.
that's cool. Believe it or not, we have Fortran and physics degrees in common.
Way!
Love that, Sheldon. Right, now, before we kind of start, kind of like back when cloud started, people put the cloud term on all sorts of different things. So let's start by having your definition of what artificial intelligence is, please.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right there, David. It is, and this is something that I frequently ask people when they're talking about AI is, well, what do you actually mean? Because just like when we first started out with cloud, AI can mean lots of different things to lots of different people. So when I'm talking about AI, I like to go back to the scientific definition and look at the Turing test, which is a test developed by Alan Turing, basically saying, can you, as an isolated person in a room interacting with a computer, tell whether it's a computer or a person reacting to you? And that's the test, right? If a machine can make you think that it's a human, it passes that test. It is an artificially intelligent machine. So it is basically getting a computer to act like a human. Now, the first time this test was passed was in 1966 by a machine called ELIZA, and it was in a very specific scenario. So the machine was trained to just act in a very particular way and was taught a few questions to say back to people. So it was trained as a therapist in a very specific field of therapy, and basically was given some keywords. And if someone said that keyword, then you reframe their sentence in this way. So the way the machine was programmed was still using normal programming methodology, right? So this was before we had things like neural networks and machine learning, which we now have. So machine learning has changed the way we look at AI, I think. But AI as a whole has been around for quite a while now. And it isn't something as new as people seem to think it is. But it's definitely having a moment, especially when we talk about generative AI.
Absolutely. I mean, you're right to take us back to the history of that. But obviously, things changed in November 2022 when OpenAI released ChatGPT, and then obviously 2023 was a completely pivotal year in terms of the topic. Tell us what's your take on why that happened and how it's developing.
Yeah, so I certainly think there are a few reasons. Some of them are technology related, actually, and some of them are people related. Some of them are COVID related, as to why generative AI in particular has had the boom it's had in the last year or so. And that's partly because the technology is now out there and it is usable in a way that everybody can use it, right? I mean, my mum was playing with ChatGPT. Everyone's been playing with it. It's not. I should say that. I say that my mum is a computer programmer by training as well, so maybe not the best example to have pulled out of thin air. But if she sees this, she'll be like, "Why are you making it out like I'm not technical? I'm incredibly technical." But everybody was using ChatGPT, right? And multiple reasons why that's happened now. Firstly is because we've actually been able to get AI algorithms to perform in a way that means that they can react quickly enough to what we're used to. I mean, we live very much in an age of getting things instantly. We don't want to wait for an answer. And that requires AI algorithms to be able to move very quickly. It requires an inordinate amount of processing power. And where do we get that processing power from? From GPUs. So the rise of the GPU has enabled these AI programs to be where they are today. I think the other side of this is the social side of this, right? if it wasn't for social media sites and the fact that people were actually more engaged with those due to the COVID-19 pandemic, it may not have spread the way it did, but it did. And everybody now knows what ChatGPT is and what it does, right? But I think one of the key things that I'm finding when I'm talking to people about AI is there's very much a focus on generative AIs like ChatGPT. But especially if you come from an enterprise background, what AI can do for you is way broader than that. And especially when you start looking at things like vision analytics or anything where you're looking for something to spot a pattern. So whether that is looking for different access patterns across a network to pull out potential security incidents, through to someone using a retail store abnormally, there are loads of different things you can use AI for. It isn't just all about generative AI.
Excellent. Do you know, one of the things that's fascinating is we do an annual research report, Cloud Industry Forum, publish it every April, just working on this year's report. One of the things that's significant is the fact that 2/3 of the people we surveyed are already using AI in some fashion, which I think is just highlights how fast the adoption has been, in a general way rather than just with the AI gigs. It's brilliant. Give us some examples of the kind of use cases that you're working on with AI at Lenovo.
Yeah, so we've got some really good use cases here at Lenovo. Some of them are more generative AI focused, some of them do other things. So, for example, we've been working with a large US-based retailer to look at loss prevention. So, loss, also known as things disappearing in retail, was worth to this retailer about 2 billion a year, right? It's a massive amount of money. Certainly, and those areas of loss can come from different things, right? So whether that is from somebody coming into the store, picking something up and running off with it in a traditional shoplifting manner, whether it is from somebody mis-scanning something, so accidentally not scanning it, whether it is a deliberate mis-scan, so rather than scanning it, I'm just going to pass it around the other way and we won't worry about that, or whether it is somebody switching an item for something. So, for example, if you're using a self-checkout, most self-checkouts operate on weight, right? So long as your item weighs the same, a scale can't tell whether it is 500 grams worth of steak or 500 grams worth of broccoli. And the two things have slightly different price points, but a scale can't tell the difference. So there are lots of different ways in which you can encounter loss. So what we've done with this retailer is use their existing CCTV systems to use computer vision to pick up those loss incidences and flag them to somebody to say, hi, this person's passing things around a lot. And this is the key thing here. It's flagging it to a person, right? It's not going automatically then making a decision. It's gathering the data. It is presenting that data to a person to make a decision, right? So that's one example. Another one is we've been working with the Scott Morgan Foundation. And the Scott Morgan Foundation are a charity who exist to help people with major disabilities thrive rather than just survive. Because at the moment, as a society, we've got is ridiculously low bar for what we perceive people as being okay if they can do, right? And actually, we should be more focused on how we help people thrive, no matter where they're at. And one of the key things for people can be communication. So we were doing some work with them around ALS, which basically can lead to full body paralysis. It's not very nice. And we worked with them to help them develop an avatar for a lady called Erin. and it's really cool. If you're watching this after this, Google. It was debuted at the Consumer Electronics Show this year. And basically what it does is it enables Erin to have that communication with people in a more normal, natural way, without having to use, a traditional text to speech method, which doesn't generally work because you can't necessarily type the same way that other people would type. So there's all kinds of really interesting things we're doing with this technology. And there are loads of things that we as Lenovo are doing, through from, helping the retailer that I described, through to like scanning packages as well. So again, we're working with another company, a large logistics company, who have hundreds of thousands of packages come through their warehouse on a daily basis. And how do you check that each package is what you're expecting it to be and that it's going to the right place? And how do you do that as quickly as possible? Well, the answer is using computer vision, right? So we've been working with them to implement a system to enable them to scan and pass more packages through their warehouse than ever before, which has really increased their productivity.
What do you think is the most exciting thing about all of this that you've seen so far?
I guess it depends whether you want to, whether I put my business Emily hat on, and talk about there's a lot of potential opportunities here for businesses to economize, right? So there are loads of money savings you can make, but also branching out into new products or understanding your customers better. There's the opportunity here. Exactly. There's such a big opportunity here to actually really start to get to understand the data you've got and actually do something with it. Because I think a lot of people have been sitting on data, people have been collecting data, but there has been an awful lot of it to go through manually. Whereas now we've actually got the tools we need to be able to go through and understand those patterns within our businesses. On a personal level, I'd say it's like you look at some of this stuff and it absolutely will change the world, right? Whether that is looking at solutions for climate change, right? Or whether it is, you look at AI being used for weather forecasting and how accurate some of that can be now. And the implications of that, if you're tracking a hurricane from a life savings perspective, is huge. So yeah, there's massive business potential and there's massive personal potential for it as well.
Interesting. Now, one of my guests, and I'm not going to name who said this, but they were saying that they were looking at the potential AI new things they wanted to do, and they estimated that it was going to double the amount of infrastructure they needed in terms of compute and storage. And so there's this tension against all the positive things you're talking about and us trying to be sustainable. And what do you think about that kind of tension between lots more compute power required with this wonderful AI thing?
And I think it's really good that whoever that person is, that they picked up on that, because I would say that the general person on the street has no idea that when they're playing the chat GPT at the weekend, the amount of compute power it is using is big. It takes a lot more energy to search something using an AI-based search than it does just to whack it into a traditional search engine. And that's something people don't realize. But yeah, there is a big balance to be got here. And that's something that we at Lenovo are really focused on. Sustainability is one of our key metrics, right? And actually, our heritage in high performance computing stands us in a really good place here. So Lenovo are really big in high performance computing. More machines on the list of the top 500 most performant machines out there are Lenovo than are any other vendor. We know what we're doing in this space. And what that means is that we know how to handle these higher power parts because whilst they're only now just becoming used by everybody, they've been being used in HPC for a little while, right? And our heritage in HPC from a product design perspective means that we really are focused on how you efficiently use those parts. We want to try and make the most out of as little energy as possible. So whether that's doing things like using our Neptune technologies to cool servers so that you can take out the fans and reduce the power of that server by up to 30%, there are lots of things we look at doing and things we can do to help mitigate that. Now, ultimately, more compute and more storage does draw more power. There isn't, you don't get something from nothing, right? But there is an evaluation to be made there as to, is what I'm doing worthwhile, and how do I do this in the most sustainable way possible? So I really would urge anybody thinking about that to really think about how they can implement that infrastructure in a really sustainable way. And it can be things like we have a service that allows people to recycle their old infrastructure as well. So there are different things you can do and different ways you can do this. But engage with your suppliers, talk to them about it, engage with your data center provider, talk to them about it. Get your suppliers and your data center provider to talk to each other, because between the two of them, actually, there'll be quite a lot they can do to help reduce, or at least I say there will be. If it's Lenovo, there will be quite a lot we can do, right, to reduce that power footprint. So yeah, consider it, talk about it, think about it.
Awesome. Now, you and I only met for the first time recently, and we met in the Disruptive Live studios because you're recording your own new AI show. Tell us about that. Tell us what you're doing in that.
Yeah, I am indeed, David. So I am recording my own AI show, which came as a little bit of a surprise to me when I got an email saying, "We want you to come and record a show." And I thought, okay, great. And actually it's from my perspective, it's been really, really interesting. Because what we're doing with the show is we are getting lots of ISVs, service providers, people working in the AI industry, the disruptors, the innovators, to come in to talk about what it is they're doing and about how what they are doing is changing either the world on a big scale or their bit of the world, right? So I've learned a lot from doing the show, but it's also been a really good way to give some of the newer ISVs a bit of a platform as well, to talk a bit about how what they're doing is relevant, right? Because I think a lot of the time people don't, as I said at the start, people don't realize what AI can do for them. So just being able to get the word out there that there is more to AI than generative AI, vision AI, like there's a lot more out there. So whether that is using it in manufacturing to build parts, or whether it's using it to help look at fraud prevention within a banking system, it's vast. So yeah, definitely go check out the AI show from Disruptive Live as well. We do have lots of interesting guests talking about a massive variety of different AI applications.
I'll be recommending all of our viewers to go watch too. Excellent. Now, obviously, we're Cloud Industry Forum. From my point of view, I think kind of cloud and AI have a kind of a symbiotic relationship where the two go hand in hand. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. I think, especially when we look at how we define modern cloud, right? As in cloud as we define it today, rather than when it first started. Because it is all about being able to do processing close to where your data's at, and having that scalable cloud infrastructure that allows you to easily manage and do that is really key to being able to easily deploy AI applications and easily understand your data as well. Without that already existing underlying layer, it's going to be a struggle. Additionally, there have been, it's kind of a two-pronged thing from me, because additionally, there have been some well-known hardware shortages within the AI arena, right? GPUs have become, or were a little, it's getting better now, but throughout the last year, they have been a little bit like gold dust, or hen's teeth, or whatever analogy you want to use there. So actually, cloud providers have been really key to allowing people access to those technologies so that people can build systems and prototype things in a timely way. So yeah, absolutely, the two go hand in hand.
Great stuff. Now, you've covered a bit of this question, but we've had a great talk for the last 20 minutes or so about all of these issues. What advice have you got for our audience in terms of how they should approach it, what they should take away from our conversation?
Yeah, so I think the key piece of advice I would want people to take is really think about what AI can do for you. And the best way to do that is to look at what your biggest business problem is, right? Whether that is, we really have a problem with customer retention, or we have a problem with complying to whatever regulation it is so that we don't get massive fines. Have a think about those things. Go out there, have a little dig around, because there will be people who are providing solutions to those things. Or come and talk to us at Lenovo, because we have a program called the Lenovo AI Innovators Program. And what we do through that program is we take on ISVs, we do a vetting process with them to make sure that they're really sound, and to make sure that they're supportable, and to make sure that their application actually does what they say their application does. So we go through that process, and then they get added onto our list of AI ISVs that have been thoroughly vetted. And what that gives us is this toolkit, right? As well as being able to go from pocket to cloud in terms of infrastructure, we're also now able to bring those ISVs who can give functionality to those pieces of infrastructure to actually solve some really big problems. So yeah, find a Lenovo rep, say to them, this is my problem. Can I talk to you about how AI can help me solve this?
But crucially important to be thinking in terms of the business problem and the outcomes required first, rather than the technology.
100%.
Excellent.
And that's one of the biggest reasons why AI projects fail, right? So one of the biggest reasons why they fail is because the outcomes, or what you want to get out of the project, has not been clearly defined. So if you go into a new AI project, make sure that you have really clearly defined both that problem statement and the outcome you want to get to.
Excellent. That's been a great conversation. Can you tell the audience where they find out more about Lenovo and the AI show and what you're doing?
The internet is a wonderful place. But you can also reach me on LinkedIn as well. So I'm out there. If you give me a search at Emily Barrett, then yeah, I will crop up on LinkedIn. There's details for how to find Lenovo on my LinkedIn, and also how to find the AI show.
Excellent. Emily, that's been fantastic. It's been great having you on the show, and I wish you the best of luck with your new show. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me, David.
Great stuff. I hope you agree with me that that was great. I really enjoyed what Emily had to say about generative AI and large language models and those Lenovo initiatives. I definitely recommend you go watch her AI show. We'll be back live next Wednesday at 14:30 UK time as usual. And as usual, we want your feedback, your suggestions, or maybe you want to be a guest on the show. Please put something in the comments here or email us at info@cloudindustryforum.org. We look forward to hearing from you, and we hope to see you next week or next time.